Have you ever noticed how the harder you try to control life, the more chaotic it seems to become? What if true strength isn't about controlling everything, but about keeping calm through everything? This is your invitation to discover how calmness, not chaos, is the key that quietly unlocks success. Welcome to this video, how keeping calm can lead you to success. We're not here to offer fluffy advice or motivational quotes that fade as fast as they appear. Today, we'll journey into timeless wisdom, tested through centuries of hardship and refinement, Stoicism. In this video, you'll learn 11 lessons from Stoic philosophy that prove staying calm isn't weakness, it's your greatest advantage. Through the story of James Stockdale and modern-day neuroscience, we'll see how calm minds make sharp decisions, build resilience, and rise above the chaos that traps others. Let's begin with a story. James Stockdale was a US Navy pilot during the Vietnam War, trained for danger, trained for control. But the day his plane was shot down and he was captured as a prisoner of war, everything changed. 7 years in captivity, beaten, tortured, locked in isolation. How did he survive? Not through brute strength, not through control over circumstances, but through calm, through inner command of his mind. He remembered the Stoic teachings of Epictetus. It is not circumstances themselves that disturb us, but our judgment about them. And so Stockdale couldn't stop the pain, but he could control his response. He became a leader among the prisoners, teaching them resilience, creating secret codes to stay connected. When asked how he survived, he answered, "I accepted reality, but I never lost faith in my ability to overcome it." That is calm. And theodicy is power. Let's start with something we've all felt, the rush of panic. That moment when things spiral, the unexpected hits and your heart starts racing. Maybe it's a tough conversation at work, a financial crisis, or hearing news that shakes your entire world. In those moments, instinct often tells us to react, fast, to fight back, defend, control. But the Stoics, masters of inner discipline, taught something radically different. The calmer you are, the more power you hold. Imagine you're behind the wheel of a Formula One car, hurtling around a sharp corner. You're gripping the wheel, engine screaming, tires just inches from losing traction. Suddenly the car slides, panic flares. You can feel it, the urge to yank the wheel, slam the brakes. That's what most people do, and most people crash. But the great drivers, they breathe. They ease off the accelerator, correct smoothly, and glide through the chaos. Not because they're lucky, but because they're trained to stay calm. Life is just like that racetrack. The curves are unexpected, the speed unpredictable, and the outcome? It depends entirely on how you respond when the pressure peaks. Calmness isn't passive. It's precision under pressure. James Stockdale, a US Navy pilot captured during the Vietnam War, was held prisoner for 7 long years. Tortured, isolated, humiliated. Many broke under the same conditions. But Stockdale didn't. His weapon wasn't physical strength, it was mental clarity. He remembered the words of Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That philosophy didn't just comfort him, it saved him. In modern terms, neuroscience confirms what the Stoics practiced. When you're overwhelmed and react impulsively, the amygdala, your emotional brain, takes over. But when you remain calm, you engage your prefrontal cortex, part responsible for reasoning, planning, and self-control. In other words, staying calm gives you access to your best thinking, your most powerful decisions, your highest self. Calmness is not a mood, it's a trained skill. And like any skill, it requires practice. So how do you train it? Start small. Practice calmness in micro moments. When traffic backs up, when your coffee spills, when someone cuts you off mid-sentence. If you can control your reaction in the little things, you build resilience for the big ones. Because calm isn't something you find in a crisis, it's something you build before the crisis. And once you begin mastering calm, you realize something profound. The greatest source of stress isn't always the situation. It's your desire to control what was never yours to manage in the first place. Let's explore why learning to let go of control is not a weakness, but a path to inner strength and peace. If calm is the foundation, then what you choose to focus on is the next pillar. And here's where many of us get trapped. We try to control everything, we plan every detail, manage every variable, and still life throws us a curveball. The car breaks down, a friend disappoints you, your promotion goes to someone else, and suddenly your peace is gone. The Stoics had a word for this illusion of control: attachment to externals. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." In other words, you can't control the weather, the economy, or other people's decisions, but you can control what you do next. Let's say you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Your hands grip the wheel, your mind spirals. What if your boss thinks you're lazy? What if you miss your chance? You honk, you curse, you stew, but none of that moves the cars. None of it changes the outcome. Now imagine instead, you breathe. You accept the moment. You call ahead. You use the time to prepare mentally or listen to something uplifting. That shift doesn't just reduce your stress. It protects your energy, your focus, your ability to show up strong when you arrive. This isn't passivity, it's strategy. Epictetus put it plainly: some things are up to us and some are not. His entire philosophy revolves around this split. Our suffering, he believed, doesn't come from events. It comes from resisting what we cannot change. Modern psychology calls this the locus of control. People with an internal locus, who believe they control their responses, tend to be more resilient, optimistic, and successful. Those with an external locus feel helpless, bitter, anxious. So what does this look like in your daily life? When someone insults you, you can lash out or respond with grace. When a project fails, you can blame or you can learn. When plans fall apart, you can panic or pivot. The choice is always yours. Try this. For one day, notice every time you feel stressed or angry. Then pause and ask, is this in my control? If it is, act. If it's not, let it go. You'll be amazed at how much lighter you feel and how much clearer your decisions become. Because peace doesn't come from control. It comes from clarity, and clarity grows when we stop fighting reality and start working with it. Now that we've laid this powerful groundwork, calmness and response, let's turn to one of the most overlooked tools for inner strength: gratitude. Not the fluffy kind, but the kind that retrains your brain for resilience. Let's dive into why being grateful before you complain might just be the key to keeping calm and moving forward. Now that we've explored how letting go and accepting what's outside your control brings peace, we step into a practice that rewires your brain for calm and clarity. Gratitude. Not the kind you force out on Thanksgiving or scribble down when prompted. The kind that becomes a daily habit, a way of seeing the world that grounds you no matter what's going on. The Stoics believed that gratitude was a form of strength. Marcus Aurelius, in the thick of political unrest and personal grief, still wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He didn't write those words from luxury. He wrote them in the middle of chaos. That's the point. Gratitude isn't for when things are easy. It's what makes you stronger when things are hard. Science backs this up. Studies from leading psychologists show that people who practice gratitude regularly experience lower cortisol levels, better sleep, and stronger mental resilience. Why? Because gratitude shifts your focus. Instead of obsessing over what's missing, you recognize what's present, and what you focus on, you feel more of. Let's look at a relatable scenario. You've had a rough day, emails piling up, your boss is short with you, your car makes a weird noise. You're seconds away from complaining. But then you pause. You shift your lens. You think, I have a job, I have transportation, I have the power to reset this day. That pause, just a few seconds, can prevent a downward spiral. That's not weakness, that's mental mastery. You can train this. Start every morning by listing 3 things you're grateful for. Not the big, obvious stuff. Start small. The warmth of your coffee, a good night's sleep, a peaceful 5 minutes. This trains your brain to scan for good. And when you encounter challenges later in the day, Your brain is already wired to respond, not with panic, but with perspective. 1. Stoic exercise that's incredibly powerful is called premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. It sounds dark, but it's brilliant. You imagine losing what you have, not to dwell on fear, but to awaken appreciation. Seneca practiced this often. He believed imagining life without something is the fastest way to value it deeply. The next time you want to complain, try this. Pause and name one thing you're thankful for in that moment. Do it out loud. It interrupts the negative loop and repositions your mind in strength. Gratitude is not denial, it's discipline. And when it becomes a way of life, it creates a calm that isn't shaken easily. Once you begin shifting your inner dialogue with gratitude, something powerful happens. Your thoughts begin shaping not just how you feel, but what you create. Let's look next at how the quality of your thinking can directly shape the results you get in life. Once gratitude opens your eyes to what's already working, your mind becomes fertile ground for something even greater: purposeful thought. Because what you consistently think doesn't just affect your emotions, it shapes your reality. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." He knew that before any action, before any habit or result, comes a single thought. Imagine you start your day thinking, "Today is going to be a disaster." You spill coffee, miss a call, someone cuts you off in traffic, and you say, "See? I knew it." But here's the catch. Were those things really signs of disaster, or did your thoughts filter your experience to fit your expectation? This is known as the cognitive bias of confirmation. Your mind seeks evidence to prove itself. Right, so if you expect failure, you unconsciously sabotage yourself. You hesitate, you avoid risk, you shrink. And then, like magic, your fears become reality. Not because they were destined, but because they were designed by your own thinking. The reverse is also true. Think of Thomas Edison. After thousands of failed attempts at inventing the light bulb, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset, that refusal to see setbacks as failure, changed history. What if you approached your life the same way? This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. Stoicism is rooted in realism, but it's about choosing a productive thought over a defeating one. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" try, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of, "I'm not ready," say, "I'm becoming ready." One technique that helps: mental rehearsal. Olympic athletes use this all the time. They visualize their performance down to every movement, and studies show their brains respond as if they were physically practicing. You can do the same. Visualize yourself staying calm in a meeting, handling criticism with grace, delivering your best work. The more vividly you rehearse success, the more naturally you live it. Start noticing the language of your thoughts. Are you feeding doubt or building belief? Are you focused on problems or scanning for possibilities? It takes awareness to change, but once you do, your world shifts. Because what you think consistently becomes what you attract, what you act on, and ultimately, what you experience. And the best part? This isn't about toxic positivity, it's about strategic thinking, choosing thoughts that serve your highest self. As you become more intentional with your inner dialogue, there's another truth you must face: your attention is limited. And what you choose to give it to will determine not just how you think, but how you live. Let's explore why mastering your focus is one of the most powerful ways to stay calm and create meaningful success. Now that you've begun to rewire your thinking, there's a deeper layer to explore where your attention goes. Because even if your thoughts are empowering, if your attention is scattered, your life will feel the same. The Stoics understood this principle long before psychology gave it a name. Seneca said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." What you choose to focus on, moment to moment, literally shapes your experience of the world. Think of attention as the lens of your camera. You can point it at chaos, or you can aim it toward beauty. Two people can walk through the same day, same traffic, same job, same challenges, and walk away with completely different stories. One sees problems, the other sees possibilities. Why? It's not luck, it's focus. Modern neuroscience supports this. The reticular activating system, RAS, is a part of your brain that acts like a filter. It prioritizes what you notice based on what you've trained it to look for. Ever bought a red car and then started seeing red cars everywhere? That's your RAS at work. Now imagine training it to see opportunity, gratitude, progress. That's how attention becomes your superpower. Let me share a story. A man lost his job unexpectedly. Same day, 2 phone calls. One friend says, "That's awful, you must be terrified." The other says, "Maybe this is your chance to build what you've been dreaming about." Same event, different focus. One response leads to anxiety, the other to action. So how do you train your attention? First, limit distractions. Turn off notifications. Put your phone out of reach when you need to focus. This isn't about digital detox. It's about mental sovereignty. Second, begin your day by choosing your focus. Ask, what matters most today? Write it down. Keep it visible. Revisit it when you feel yourself drifting. Third, audit your attention diet. Just like food affects your body, what you consume mentally affects your clarity. Are you feeding your mind with negativity, gossip, or fear-driven news? Or are you filling it with truth, wisdom, and calm? When you begin taking charge of your attention, life slows down in the best way. You stop reacting to every beep, headline, or opinion. You start responding to life intentionally. This doesn't mean you'll never feel overwhelmed. It means you'll recognize the moment you start to drift and bring yourself back. That's power. That's peace. As you gain mastery over your focus, you'll start to realize something else. Even your best thinking and clearest attention can be compromised when your mind and body are burned out. Let's explore why rest isn't weakness, but a strategic advantage for anyone serious about success. After mastering your attention, the next essential ingredient for calm success isn't more hustle. It's knowing when to pause. We live in a world that celebrates overwork, glorifies grind culture, and treats burnout like a badge of honor. But the Stoics, despite their discipline and rigor, understood the wisdom of restoration. Because even the sharpest sword, if overused, will dull and break. Seneca said, "We must give ourselves rest from time to time. Nature does not allow us to be constantly in motion." He wasn't advocating laziness, he was promoting rhythm. Just as nature cycles through seasons, our bodies and minds require moments of stillness to renew. Think about it. When do your worst decisions happen? It's rarely when you're rested and grounded. More often, it's when you're running on fumes, short on sleep, high on stress, and trying to power through. In those states, your brain's executive functions, the very tools you need for clarity, problem-solving, and emotional regulation, begin to shut down. Modern science supports what the Stoics knew intuitively. Sleep isn't just recovery, it's reconstruction. It's when your brain files away memories, regulates emotions, and resets your internal systems. Skip it, and you don't just feel tired. You operate at a fraction of your potential. But rest isn't only about sleep. It's about creating space in your day for recovery. That could mean a 10-minute walk without your phone, 5 minutes of deep breathing, a short nap, an evening without screens. These aren't luxuries, they're maintenance. Let me share a story. A successful executive I once worked with prided himself on working 80-hour weeks, but he hit a wall, physically, mentally, emotionally. His company stalled. His relationship suffered. At a therapist's advice, he began scheduling white space into his week, blocks of unstructured time. No meetings, no emails, just reflection, rest, or creative exploration. Within months, his productivity soared, and so did his joy. That's the paradox. When you rest strategically, you don't fall behind, you leap ahead. So how can you implement this? Start with your evening. Set a shutdown time. Create a routine that signals your brain. It's time to recharge. Block 15-minute breaks into your workday. Don't fill them with scrolling. Use them to breathe, stretch, reset. Practice a weekly Sabbath, a day or even half a day with no demands, no to-do list, just being. Rest isn't what you do when everything's done. It's what ensures you have the strength and clarity to do what matters well. Because once you learn to rest with intention, you stop running on empty. You stop living on reaction. And from that place of restoration, you can begin to shape your fitness, not just survive it. Let's now explore how your morning, those first few minutes, can either create chaos or set the tone for calm, focused success. After learning to rest with intention, you wake not just with more energy, but with a fresh opportunity to decide who you want to be today. That first hour after waking holds more influence than most people realize. It sets the rhythm of your body, your mindset, and your mood. And in Stoic terms, it's the sacred window where you choose whether to lead your day or let it lead you. Marcus Aurelius began each morning reminding himself of the kind of man he wanted to be. He didn't reach for distraction. He reached for clarity. He wrote in Meditations, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That's not just poetic, it's power. It's the art of preloading your mindset before the world has a chance to program it for you. Contrast that with how most of us begin our days, snoozing alarms, mindless scrolling, rushing out the door. No wonder we feel scattered. Our minds are reacting before they've had a chance to align. Here's the truth. Successful days don't start by accident. They start with intention. You don't need a 2-hour morning routine packed with cold plunges and green juice. You need something repeatable, something that brings you back to yourself. That might look like waking up 30 minutes earlier for silence and reflection. Journaling. 3 things you're grateful for and 1 goal for the day. Stretching or walking in nature while listening to something nourishing. Reading 1 passage from a Stoic text and meditating on it. It's not about the length of the routine, it's about the quality of presence you bring to it. When you take charge of your morning, something shifts. You enter the day with direction, with focus, with a calm that's not shaken easily. One client I worked with, a busy entrepreneur, used to start his day buried in emails and Slack messages. He constantly felt behind. I asked him to take just 10 minutes each morning before checking any device, to breathe, journal 1 clear intention, and read 1 paragraph from Seneca. Within weeks, he reported less anxiety, more clarity, and ironically, more time. Your morning is the opening scene of your daily story. If you start rushed, the rest follows suit. If you start calm, the rest flows from that space. So tomorrow, before the world pulls you into its noise, take a moment. Breathe. Choose how you want to show up. And as you start anchoring your day with purpose, it's time to explore a tool that may seem subtle, but is scientifically and spiritually powerful: the art of visualization. Let's look at how what you see in your mind becomes what you build in your life. Now that you've learned how your mornings can be the launching pad for clarity and direction, it's time to talk about the inner cinema that plays a far more powerful role than we realize: your imagination. The Stoics may not have had neuroscience at their fingertips, but they understood something fundamental. The images you hold in your mind shape the life you experience. Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote not just about events, but about how to prepare for them mentally. He practiced envisioning setbacks and responding with wisdom before they occurred. This wasn't pessimism, it was mental strength training. He visualized patience, courage, and calm, not just because they were virtues, but because he intended to live them. Fast forward to today, and modern sports psychology teaches us the same principle. Olympic athletes are trained to visualize their performance in vivid detail. Every breath, every movement, every challenge, every win. Their brains light up as if they're physically practicing. Visualization is not woo-woo. It's neurological. Priming. Your mind rehearses success before your body arrives. So how does this apply to you? Let's say you have an important meeting, and public speaking makes you nervous. Instead of replaying every worst-case scenario, visualize your success. See yourself entering the room with steady breath. Hear your voice clear and calm. Imagine questions coming, and you handling them with poise. Feel the energy of confidence rising in you. You are training your nervous system to act with intention, not fear. You can apply this to any area of life. Visualize a difficult conversation going well. Visualize yourself waking up early with clarity. Visualize remaining composed when you're tested. It's not about fantasy. It's about practicing who you choose to be. And don't stop with single events. Build a vision of the life you want long-term. Not just what it looks like, but how it feels. Where are you? Who are you with? What are you building? How do you carry yourself? Your brain begins aligning your behavior with the pictures you feed it. But visualization without action is just daydreaming. Once you've envisioned the life you want, you must meet that image with effort, discipline, and follow-through. One Stoic practice to reinforce visualization is called morning reflection and evening review. In the morning, imagine how you will face the day. At night, reflect, did I live it well? Where did I fall short? What can I improve tomorrow? Visualization is the bridge between your intention and your reality. Walk it with purpose. And as you become more fluent in shaping your inner world, there's a tool more accessible than any app or book, something you carry with you always. It's as close as your next breath. Let's talk about how using your breath consciously can pull you out of chaos and back into calm. After exploring the power of visualization, it becomes clear much of our control over life begins in the mind. But the gateway to calming the mind, especially when it's overwhelmed, is something even more immediate: your breath. Breath is your body's most accessible tool, and the Stoics, though they didn't speak in scientific terms, understood its grounding power. Think about the last time you were anxious. Your chest tightened, your thoughts raced, your body tensed. You weren't breathing fully, at least not consciously. But what happens when you do pause and take a slow, deep breath? Your heart rate slows, your mind clears. You feel a little more anchored. That is not a coincidence. It's physiology. The breath acts as a bridge between the body and the mind. Inhaling and exhaling with intention activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of you responsible for rest, recovery, and calm. The moment you begin controlling your breath, you're telling your brain, I'm safe, I'm present, I'm okay. Epictetus taught that it's not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. But what if your breath could interrupt those judgments before they spiral? What if, instead of reacting in anger or fear, you could breathe and respond? Consider the 4-7-8 technique. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. It's Hugh. Takes less than a minute, and it's remarkably effective at calming your system. It gives your mind space to think. It gives your emotions space to settle. It returns the power to you. In high-stress environments, from athletes to special forces, to executives, controlled breathing is trained, practiced, and relied upon. It's a skill, a practiced art of reclaiming control when the world feels overwhelming. You can practice this daily. First thing in the morning, before a difficult conversation, during a moment of anxiety, even in line at the grocery store. The ego. More you practice, the more natural it becomes. It becomes your anchor, and it's not just about escaping stress. Breathing deeply throughout your day improves oxygen flow, increases focus, and supports better sleep. It nourishes your entire system. So, the next time life rushes in with its demands, before you react, take a breath. One slow, conscious breath. That single pause can change everything. It can turn chaos into clarity. It can keep you from saying something you'll regret. It can bring you back to now, because success isn't just built in big moments. It's protected in these small ones. And your breath, it's always with you. Now that you've discovered how powerful a breath can be, there's something equally profound found in its opposite, not action, but absence. Let's explore how seeking silence in a noisy world isn't an escape, but a return to your center. After regaining control through breath, you begin to sense the deeper layers beneath movement, beneath even thought. And in a world addicted to noise, to stimulation, to endless scrolling and swiping, silence can feel unsettling. But to the Stoics, and to anyone pursuing true clarity, silence wasn't emptiness. It was everything. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that true wisdom speaks quietly because it doesn't compete. Marcus Aurelius spent hours alone in meditation and journaling, not because he had the luxury of time, but because he understood that only in stillness could he hear his own voice amidst the roar of empire and obligation. Today, silence is rare. From the moment you wake, you're surrounded by sound. Phones buzzing, podcasts playing, traffic moving. Our minds are constantly processing input, leaving little space for reflection. And yet, it is in silence where insight emerges, where the subconscious whispers truths too quiet to be heard through noise. Think of a glass of muddy water. When stirred, it's cloudy, but when left still, the sediment settles and the water clears. Your mind works the same way. When you stop, trying to force clarity, and instead allow space for it to settle, silence reveals the answers you've been chasing. Consider this. How many times has your best idea come in the shower? Or during a walk? Or just after waking up? It's not magic. It's your brain finally having space to breathe, to synthesize, to create. So how can you find silence in a world that rarely stops? Start with 5 minutes of no input. No music, no podcasts. Just sit, breathe, observe. Go for a walk without your phone. Let your senses do the listening. Journal without judgment. Let the quiet pull words out of you. Sit in a room with nothing but a notebook and ask, what is really going on inside me right now? This practice isn't always comfortable. At first, silence can surface things you've been avoiding, but that's its gift. It brings the truth to light. It strips away distractions so you can confront, heal, and grow. And in leadership, relationships, or moments of crisis, silence becomes a strength. The person who doesn't rush to speak, who can hold a pause, who listens fully before responding, that person wields influence grounded in presence. As you build silence into your daily life, you become more than reactive. You become responsive, intentional, anchored. And with that kind of centered awareness, you're ready to move, not with haste, but with presence. Which leads us to one final and beautiful paradox. Sometimes the best way to calm the mind is to move the body. Let's explore how action, simple physical action, can rewire your nervous system and steady your soul. Silence gives space to hear what's inside, but what do you do when those thoughts are too loud to bear? When your inner world feels tangled, and words or stillness just aren't enough. The Stoics believed in reason and reflection, but they also understood the power of doing. They knew that sometimes the best way to process pain or restore peace is through your hands. We often think of mental clarity as something achieved only by thinking more, journaling more, meditating more. But sometimes the wisest thing you can do is pick up a broom, knead dough, reorganize a shelf, tend to a garden, build something with your hands. This is not about productivity. It's about presence. It's about reconnecting the body and mind through physical movement that requires focus, rhythm, and engagement. Seneca once wrote that idleness breeds anxiety. He didn't mean we should always be busy, but that mental loops tend to tighten when left unchecked. Purposeful motion, so. The other hand loosens those knots. It grounds us in the now. It replaces spirals with structure. Think of a time when you were overwhelmed. You sat, stewed, scrolled, and likely felt worse. Now think of a time when you got up and did something small, cleaned your space, fixed something broken, folded laundry. There's a reason it helped. It wasn't about the task, it was about regaining agency through motion. Even modern therapy acknowledges this. Behavioral activation is a treatment for depression that encourages simple actions to interrupt mental paralysis. It works because action, no matter how small, creates momentum, and momentum is a form of hope. The body leads the mind. If your thoughts feel stuck, let your hands lead the way. Here are a few simple ways to use this in daily life. When anxiety hits, wash your hands slowly with intention. When anger rises, go for a brisk walk or tidy one corner of your space. When your mind races, do a repetitive task. Folding, brushing, sweeping. This is not avoidance, it's integration. Movement becomes a meditation. Simple physical acts help metabolize emotion. So the next time you feel ungrounded, don't ask, "What should I think?" Ask, "What can I do?" Your hands are wise, they know how to bring you back to the moment. And once you've grounded yourself through action, you're better prepared to engage the world, not for recognition or applause, but from a place of quiet purpose. Let's now look at why calm success doesn't chase validation, but flows from integrity, even when no one is watching. You've just explored 11 timeless lessons drawn from Stoic wisdom, each one revealing that success isn't about force, speed, or applause. It's about presence, clarity, steadiness. You now understand that calm is not passive, it's powerful. It's not the absence of action, but the foundation that makes action meaningful. The Stoics didn't chase attention. They pursued mastery of self. And in today's fast, noisy, reactive world, that mindset is more valuable than ever. So let's bring it back to you. Out of these 11 lessons, which one will you begin practicing today? You don't need to apply everything at once. Start small, start now. Whether it's a moment of breath, a mindful morning, or one quiet decision rooted in integrity, that's where transformation begins. Success that lasts is not fueled by adrenaline, it's built on calm consistency. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone out there might need this reminder today. Hit the like button if you found value in this video. Subscribe to the channel for more weekly wisdom rooted in Stoic thought. And in the comments, write this powerful declaration. I choose calm. I choose clarity. I choose purpose. Let's build a community that grows strong, not through noise, but through inner peace and purposeful action. Until next time, stay grounded, stay clear, and keep embracing your inner Stoic.